Hello, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to Xiao guy, I obviously got Xiao very recently. Um, got him, you know, with like 160 pulls. Yeah, I've tried getting him every year he's came out. Obviously, I've lost every single time he's came out, but I just got him this time, and it was amazing. But I don't know if any. Was that just me who's like that disappeared? But obviously, I fully maxed him, and so I'm just gonna do a guide on him and what I think you should do as a Xiao main now. I'm playing with him a little bit. I've experienced his full potential. As you can see, I'm doing around 50k per hit without any supports right now, so that's pretty solid. Obviously, my other team's just a Hu team. Nothing special about that. She's okay. But anyways, let's get to Xiao. So, I'm just going to be playing the Abyss. I've already completed it while I'm explaining this. Um, but I just wanted to say overall, Xiao is a main DPS, not a support. But he relies on supports to buff him. So, while Xiao can be a very versatile main DPS, he obviously needs supports like Farazan and Bennett, which are two very good 4 stars. Farazan's really only used for Xiao and like Wander. Only Anemo because that's what she does. She buffs Anemo. Um, but your whole premise of Xiao is going to be plunging, just up and down plunging, um, which is it's it gets repetitive, but once you do the damage, it's pretty fun. Whether you should pull for him or not is up to you. Really what you feel like at the time. Like, do you want Xiao? I honestly just suggest you do the test runs, or I know Nuvalet or Kazuha may be coming out in 4.5. So that those are two great characters you can also get. Nuvalet's a very good DPS. He's probably one of the best in the game right now, if not the best, from how much damage he just does and like just simulates from such a small range of attack. But let's get to Xiao. So, for weapons, I suggest either for 5 stars, we'll do Primordial J Spear, that's obviously his main, or Sapahoma, which is what I use. And those are options that, like, as a Xiao main, you need to like eventually pull for. And if you're planning on using Xiao consistently, you want to get one of those two. I recommend whatever, like, when you get a good weapon banner, like, if there's a Staff of Homo banner with, like, I don't know, trying to think of a good banner. Let's just say it's like the Elon Hu Tao banner kind of thing. Well, the odds of that coming back are, like, almost zero. But let's just kind of that banner where it's two great weapons, like, pull for Staff of Homo then. Like, because Staff of Homo is still a great weapon overall. Like, even if you get, like, the Borneo Jade Spear for Xiao, Savahoma is used for almost every character that uses a spear in any way. Like, you can use Savahoma at any time. Because Savahoma is just a very versatile weapon. And so you can use Savahoma with anything. So I think Savahoma is probably the best one to direct pull for. Unless, the Primordial Jade Spear is on with another good weapon. Or maybe it's 2 spears like we had with the Shenhe and Zhao banner. You know what I mean? It's really just what's on the banner. And I wouldn't pull for it if there's a weapon you can't use. Like, let's say there's a catalyst on the banner and you can't pull for the catalyst. Like, you wouldn't be able to use a catalyst at all. Then I'd say it's pretty pointless because you won't be able to use the other weapon if you get it. You know what I mean? But, no. And then, obviously, those are 5 stars. Obviously, not everybody has the wishes, or they just want characters. And I understand. I love characters, too. So, obviously, I want characters, too. So I understand if you really don't want to pull for a weapon. You're just going for characters, and that's fine. 4 stars, I'd say... wow. 4 stars are probably a pretty difficult one. Just because they're so... Honestly, Blackcliff, Pole, and I think it's called Deathmatch, the Battle Pass one. The Red Battle Pass, I think it's called Deathmatch. Are probably your best bets. Because they're really the only ones that you can use that'll like help you like crazy, if you know what I mean. Um, but no, those are probably the only 4 stars I'd recommend using. I mean, you can obviously use like if you're low on ER. I think there's what the Favonius Lance or whatever. That's a decent one. I mean, I wouldn't suggest using it, but it's like honestly, if you have nothing at that point, then Favonius Lance. But no, those 3 weapons are those for the first 2 are obviously the best. Like the deathmatch and the Black Hole, you're going to start for those. But I understand those are one's paid and one of them other ones you need to get like 34 star glitter, and it has to be out. So it's a rough thing to get, but honestly, if you don't have the 5 stars, that might be something you want to save for. Um, and then for 3 stars, I really hope you get a 4 star, 5 star, because they're just really good. But for 4 star or 3 stars, you're gonna want to use the white tassel. I think it is, or the one that gives crit rate. I think it's white tassel. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I don't know everything off the top of my head, but it should be the white tassel. Because that gives crit rate. You just want to level that up. Make sure all these weapons are level 90. But that's really the weapons you're gonna want to use. I mean, obviously you can look up, more described weapon guides. I'm just recommending you the weapons I would personally use on xiao. And then I'm gonna move on to level. I'm just gonna say this. This is gonna be like a 5 second level thing. 90. You just need to get him to 90. Like honestly, the amount of crit you get from leveling him up, like. If you can't get him to 90, which I don't know why you can't, maybe your level, like your AR, which that's a separate problem, and that's something I really can't tell you how to fix. I bet there's just more detailed guys out there what to do if you're, I'm not going to get into that, but I'd say just get him to 90. Like obviously, like, getting him to 90 is probably the best thing you can do on your account, like, instantly. Like, that's just the best thing you can do that's guaranteed upgrades. That's a quick 7. I'm not going to spend forever talking about levels because it's nothing too detailed. I'm going to move on to talents. Okay, so I'm going to give you a disclaimer here. Your talents are going to be different how I do my talents. I obviously strive for things that I want to build. Like, if there's a character like Xiao, like, I'm going to build his talents like crazy. I literally have them all maxed out, like, triple crowned. Obviously, you don't have to triple crown him. But I did because I love Xiao. Like, he's my favorite character. So, I triple crowned him. But obviously, you don't have to. Maybe you just want to crown his ult and his normal attack. That's fine. Like, maybe you don't want to crown him at all. Like, that's also fine. But I recommend you go, if you want to save crowns, then go 10, 9, 10. So his normal attack 10, his E 9, and then his ult 10. I recommend going for the normal attack first, then you go for the ult, and then you go for the skill, like the because like the E isn't gonna be your main damage dealer, but your normal attack and your plunge are. So I suggest you getting those 2 to 10 at least. I triple crown him because I love Xiao, like I said, but that's up to you. That's all really I have to say about talents. Just make sure you get those talents leveled up. Like that's guaranteed upgrades, and that's the reason I want to talk about artifacts last. Because if you're doing this video in progression, then I want you to be doing artifacts last. Because the fact is, you get some basic artifacts, but don't grind artifacts because the thing is that artifacts are good, but they're not guaranteed upgrades. Zox is the one who gave me that tip. But I'm just gonna move on to artifacts. Obviously, I have to talk about them eventually. So artifacts for now. There is a couple different sets out there, but I'm going to list you the one that I use. Because this is really more of my xiao build. Obviously, you can change it. Obviously, my xiao build is not complete yet. I'm literally literally leveled xiao, and that's all I could do. Like, that's all I did at the time. But obviously, you can change how you want your xiao build. And maybe you want different team comps than me. I'm just giving you suggestions on what I've seen and used that I think is worthwhile. Obviously, artifacts, I say use Vermilion Hereafter. I don't know what thing to say it. Vermilion, because Vermilion is so I use it and I think it's great as long as you know what you're doing. but it's really not hard to know what you're doing. Just make sure you have good stats on it. Like look at your main stats, and I'll put a little tag of what your main stats should be, and then I'll put a little tag also substats you're reaching for. But obviously, oh, how much died? Um, Obviously you should be going for a full set. I know from the top of my head, I think it's the goblet. It has a damage bonus should be a Nemo because a Nemo damage bonus. I know there's some people who use physical damage bonus, which I think you're crazy, but you do you. But don't take that as advice. I think that's a dumb advice because you're not doing physical damage. I don't know why people ever use physical. Xiao. Doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, that's honestly the set you go for, and and people ask, well, should I use crit image or crit rate piece? It really depends. One, what are you using for your main weapon? If your crit rate's like 40, you need to be using a crit rate. If your crit damage is like, let's say your crit rate's like 80-90%, your crit damage is like 140, 120, then obviously you're going to want to use a crit damage. I think I said crit rate twice, I don't know. But if your crit damage is like 140, then obviously you're going to want to be using like a crit damage circlet because your thing is already, your crit rate's already 90. And so it's honestly about what is your stats right now. You know what I mean? It's like, what are your stats looking like at the current moment? Because that's really what it's depending off of. Like obviously, my xiao has a crit damage weapon. Obviously, I don't really need to be using crit damage circlet. I think that's the circlet I'm talking about, right? But obviously, it's honestly what you're lacking. Like, look at your stats. Like, that's honestly the best thing I can tell you to do is to look at your stats. Like, what are your stats looking like? What do you need to improve? Obviously, your main stats for xiao, or like your main essential stats for xiao, are crit rate. So obviously, you're gonna have a little bit more crit rate than you would normally would with another character. So it's honestly about just what's your stats looking like. Obviously, you can choose. That was a nice plan. Jeez. Like, what's your thing looking like? Like, obviously, I'm not gonna do 412. I can't do 412 quite yet because I need to build my other characters. But like, what are your current stats looking like to your other stats? Like, I'll show you my xiao. My xiao's pretty evened out. Like, my attack, like it's pretty good. Defense is like on the low end, which is kind of good. EM is kind of low because I'm not really going up EM. Crit rate's about 75%, which is, it could be higher. Crit damage is really high because obviously I'm using Homa, which gives crit damage, attack. And obviously I rolled a lot of HP on my things. Obviously I have a lot of great pieces. You're not gonna have as much stats as me. The pieces I rolled were like crazy good, and I don't know how I got them, but this is the other piece I got, but I switched to this piece because I kind of just liked it more. Obviously my xiao is a lot more, leveled. It's because I just love xiao. Like, xiao is my favorite character. I obviously have C0, because I lost my 50-50, which is a bummer. But yeah, I wished for xiao. I don't even know what pity I was at, but while I'm looking for my pity, you can keep talking. So like I just like really focused on getting him. But artifacts, like, just get like a nice set. Like, honestly, just get a nice set of Vermilion, and like that's honestly all you need. Like, you don't need much more than I went to 82. 83. Jeez, I went to 80. I went to like 83 or 82. But yeah, it's honestly just Vermilion. That's what I use. I use Vermilion, and it's, you can go through my pieces if you want to look at them. Not too fancy. And you might be like, oh, this is your off piece. Yes, because the fact is I have this one, and it's good, but I'd rather have 25% crit damage because that's just insane, and it's not worth the 2.7% crit rate. So I just put a off piece, or because I got this piece and rolled all crit damage. I was like, what the heck? And so I kept it on him. Then I put this off piece because this rolled high. This was Hu Tao's, but she didn't have an off piece yet. You know what I mean? And I did lose like 2.5% crit rate here, but I needed ER at the time because I needed to upgrade Xiao to ER. So I obviously still have none, and my ER is still lacking. But I'm trying to build them as I go. Um, Farzan, my Farzan is actually Farzan is actually very underworked. Like she's kind of mid, but obviously for Vonia Scorbo, it's the best slot. I just use this because of the attack percent, but you can do you. Venti. People ask why I do Venti. Because I think grouping the mobs and then putting Bennett's circle down makes it a lot easier to not worry. Because if you have a large group of mobs, then you don't have to worry about leaving Bennett's circle. And I know if it's big boss, obviously you can't really venti it. That's why I'll replace it maybe with Farina or Jean, or not Jean, Jean. Um, but those like this last slot right here is a flex slot. I just personally like to use Venti because I have him leveled. I have his artifacts. Um, this is he only uses this because I don't have a name of damage bonus piece for him yet. And I've had him for a while, and I really like his playstyle and his talents are, eh. This is good. This is eh. This is eh. This was really bad, but you don't love what's up. But anyways, back to Zhao. Um, just get your team that you want to work. I'd say you minimum like these two characters together. And if you somehow don't have Farzan, well, one, you need to find a way to pull for her because the next time she comes on a banner, you need to get her because she's literally the best thing for Zhao. I literally have her C0, and yet she's still busting like crazy. But obviously, I want to get him this. I want her to C6, because obviously this is crazy. C6 is stupid, and I want C6. Like, I just want C6, but I don't have C6, so I have to work with what I have, and so I have C0. So just get one copy. If you can only get one copy, that's fine. That's what I use, and I'm doing the 100k with Zhao. That's really good. Bennett. If you don't have Bennett in this game yet, I'm a little concerned for your account because he is probably the best support in the game right now. Actually, not well, like best 4-star support because he's just so good and he buffs your characters like crazy. My Bennett still needs being built. He has level 7 because I have him C5, and don't activate this because that'll ruin everything. But yeah, it's level 7. Doing a level up. I have everything. Doing this training Chow, solvents, everything like that. But I'll level it up. That's what I use. These three, I think, if you have these three, I think this is fine. Like some people use Zhongli here, which if you have Zhongli and you're not using him on your team, you can. But I'm using him on my Hu Tao team, so like that's works. And I was using Mona on my Hu Tao team to replace because I used Freena instead of Venti. But then I just put Freena back because I realized I can just use Venti. Because Venti's a great grouper, and he's just a great support. But obviously, let's say Eugene, you don't have Venti. Like Venti's not a must pull. Like if you're gonna take anything from this little team session, is that you do not need Venti. Like you can pretty much use I'm trying to give you examples. Honestly, you could probably use Ganyu. Like I'm not suggesting Ganyu. You can use Ganyu. Like you could use Jean. You can use Zhongli. You can use probably even Ayaka. Wouldn't even be that bad. Farina. Honestly, I don't even think Klee would be that bad. Albedo. Honestly, if you're gonna use Albedo though, I'd suggest using these two and then these two together. If you don't have him, that's fine. You can just use Bennett. These four. But Mona is a great support. Sucrose, like Fischl, you would even use. Xingshu, Zhongli, and I know you get her, so you don't have any excuse to not have her right now. You get her for free. There's a lot of characters you can use, and you don't have to have all these 5-stars to use Zhao. Diona you could use, like a lot of characters you can use that are 4-stars, and you can just use them, and they're not bad. Nor that. But like Zhao, like this is really just a flex slot. I just like using Venti because I think he's a great grouper, and with Bennett's ult down, it really makes it a lot easier for me. That was cool. That I don't have to worry about where I'm plunging. And it's also just like a Nemo charge for Zhao. That's why, like, if you have Jean, like, he's also healing Zhao. Like, I have these two. Like, he's healing. maybe you want to replace with him, or or her with him, and then it's just like, or maybe you have Farina and Jean. You want to put Jean here and Farina here. It's really up to you. Like your teams can be so flexible. I'd say the only time you can replace Bennett with is Jean and Farina, or Albedo and Zhongli. Those two duos together, and then you'll have Jet Farzan and Zhao. Or maybe you don't have Farzan, you put Bennett here and then place Zhongli or Beto or Farina and Jean. Obviously, any of those work. But like honestly, you can do you. And obviously, new character Jing Yun. I don't know how you say it properly. Um, it's almost like this person's name, just with a G. Um, like if you have her, she should definitely be in that team. I think the meta team. I don't know if I remember it quite right. I think it's Xiao, Faruzan, no, wait, Xiao, Faruzan, Marina, and Jing Yun. I think that's right. You might have to look it up. Not quite sure if that's right. Um, that's a great team too. Like obviously as a Xiao main, like look, um, as a Xiao main, my next character is probably going to be Jing Yun because she's just such like a support for Xiao because one, she heals Xiao, and two, she does more has the character do more plunging damage, and obviously Zhao's whole premise is plunging, so it's really whatever characters you have. Zhao is a very flexible character. He can do a lot of damage, and he's just really good main DPS, and especially early game, late game, he can be used for much everything. I'm obviously AR-57. I literally still use him. He's my main DPS now. Like, there's so many uses for Zhao you can use him for. Um, but obviously, Zhao's a very flexible character, like I've been saying, and everything I've told you. Maybe you want to use Iridescent and Gladiator. Some people do that. Like, I bet if I go to a Zhao build, let's look at co-op. Let's look. Does he use Zhao? You don't have. Yeah, we're gonna have to find somebody with Zhao first. Who has Zhao? Does anybody out here have Zhao? We need to find a Zhao, a person with Zhao. Maybe they'll have Zhao. Nobody has Zhao anymore. Okay, nobody has Zhao. Nobody has Zhao. Okay, Zhao. So maybe they use. They're using Hereafter, which obviously is his best onset. But they're using Black Full, like I said. Like there's so many different. This crit rate's really low, so if you're actually doing this, you should have a higher crit rate. But like, Zhao is a very flexible character. Some people use, there's a lot of different sets. Like I bet if I actually go to his artifacts thing, like some people use like Glad and Viridescent or Viridescent and Resonance. Sorry, I can't say that word. That's blah, blah, blah. Not everybody uses the exact same set. And I think if you're getting Xiao like for the first time, obviously go for Vermilion. Like, or like that's if you don't have anything for Xiao. Like if you have a really cracked Iridescent set, like Iridescent and Glad set, use that. Like this is like cracked as like honestly mine's pretty cracked. I would say it's cracked as mine. If you have something like that, then use it because it's really good. Eventually you can go for Vermilion. I think you should, especially if you're a Xiao main. But if you're not a Zhao main, you just want to have Zhao and use him like consistently, and you have a really good Vermilion and Glad, like 2-piece, 2-piece, and then you have one off piece. That's fine. Like that's really good, and it's still gonna be a very versatile like character, and you don't have to have him have the best everything. Like he is a very versatile and flexible character, which is really nice because you can have even just these two characters, and you have 2 flex slots. And I still recommend you have, Bennett here. I think these 3, and then you have 1 flex slot. I don't want to say my opinion on teams, but this is you see my team. I put Jean here. I put Farina here. You could probably you can put Zhongli here. And I honestly, I'd recommend you could also put Beto with Bennett, or maybe you put there's just so many combinations, and I don't actually have every single character. Obviously, I don't have. Oops, wrong archive. I don't have half these characters. Like she's the one that I need to get next. You know what I mean? Maybe you have Nahida. Nahida can be used. Maybe you have Kazuha. Kazuha is a great support. Raiden. Even some people use Raiden on their teams. Like, Yelan. Like, there's so many supports out there that you can use. And, like, obviously I have pretty much all the 4 stars. Actually, I still don't have Goro. Yeah, I haven't ever been able to get Goro. I literally have every single 4-star besides Mika and Goro and Kirara. I didn't see those 2 at all. So yeah, I just need those 4 or 3. Um, but Xiao's very flexible. And so obviously you were seeing me do like 100k damage with, Venti wasn't really buffing him, so you don't have to include Venti. Like just two 4 stars in Xiao. Obviously, he is pretty strong. But yeah, it's all you really need, man.